Hello and welcome back to the Pitchside podcast channel. I am your host, the HOD of the PSB. Like, share, comment on the YouTube video and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Enable notifications to receive all the updates from these videos and all the content on the channel, including the podcast, of course, which you can listen to on Spotify, Google Podcasts or any other platform. Listen on Spotify, Google Podcasts or any other platform. Follow us on social media site PSB Pod on Instagram, and join us here as I pick my best 11 from across the top league. Now, big notice, obviously I don't watch league that much, so I cannot really pick from that league. I would be doing a big injustice to some of the players on this lineup and in the league if I pick some of them and leave some, because I don't watch the league, so I don't have much knowledge of it. Anyway, let's get into it. We start with the goalkeeping position, and I had a bit of a dispute choosing. I thought about a couple of goalkeepers in mind. I had, this pick in this lineup, Jan Oblak, of course, from Atletico Madrid. I was thinking about Edward Mendy, maybe Thibaut Courtois deserves a good shout. Samir Handanovic also as well, had a decent season with Inter Milan. You could pick up also, I think, Donnarumma with AC Milan, had a decent season as well. But in the end, I had to go with Jan Oblak, participating and contributing massively to Atletico Madrid's great defense this season, conceding only 25, and just also keeping 16 clean sheets this season and being the best goalkeeper in the league, getting the Zamora award, which is given for the best goalkeeper in the league for the 5th time in his career. And at 28 years of age, he's still going to give more to Atletico Madrid, and he's still going to be the number one goalkeeper for the foreseeable future. He's been underrated for quite a couple of years, and I think he deserves every recognition he could get, and probably he should get the best goalkeeper in the world award finally, because it has been contested for years, I think, between the likes of Buffon and Neuer, and before that Casillas, of course. Moving in to the centre-half position and a centre-half pairing, since I decided to play with a 4-3-3 formation of sorts, and I start with the right centre-half position, and that goes to the North Macedonian, the compatriot, of course, in the team of Jan Oblak, Stefan Savic. The guy has been one of the most tremendous defenders across Europe, and has been also quite underrated, as it is the case, I think, for the whole Atletico Madrid squad for the most part this season. I mean, there's also good shouts for that position. You have Thiago Silva, maybe. Antonio Rudiger could fill that spot pretty well. You have Alessandro Bastoni at Inter, is doing pretty well. Aymeric Laporte and John Stones, although I can't pick those because I already picked another City player in the next position. But in my opinion, Stefan Savic probably deserves a great shout at being the right centre-half. He's been so good for Atletico Madrid this season, and again, he might have some rash decisions in him, like the one that led them to being sent off against Chelsea in the Champions League, but overall has been a tremendous and instrumental part of Atletico Madrid's defensive solidity and great campaign that led them to winning La Liga title. Moving on to the left centre-half position, and I don't think there's any dispute over who that player shall be. It is indeed the 23-year-old coming from Benfica, Ruben Dias, who joined Manchester City and transformed their season quite literally in the back, added a lot of solidity, a lot of compactness, a lot of charisma and leadership that was lacking the club since the exit of Vincent Kompany. We all remember last season how they spent the year with the likes of Fernandinho being a centre-half for most part, with the likes of Aymeric Laporte being in and out of form, John Stones not finding himself until Diaz came in this season, Otamendi before he leaves the club eventually. But I think Ruben Dias deserves all the plaudits in the world, winning the FWA Player of the Year, of course, deservedly I would say, which maybe will mean that he won't win the Player of the Year, the PFA Player of the Year awards, the proper one. But obviously I think he's probably the best defender in the world this season. He deserves all the plaudits, all the credits. He's not just about the new style of defenders, which they get the ball out from the back, they put on good diagonals up front. He is a true almost old school defender. Like, he tackles really well, he reads the game really well, his positioning is always amazing, and obviously, as per any great centre half, you would expect him to be really good in the air. Moving in to the right back and left back positions, and both those are from the Serie A. I picked up on the right hand side the Moroccan international Achraf Hakimi, who's been also a major part of Inter Milan's campaign towards the Scudetto, towards breaking Juventus's grip on the title after 9 years. There's also a couple of good shouts to the right back position as well. You could say that, João Cancelo, Manchester City's own Portuguese right back, deserves a shout as well. You could say that Lucas Vazquez also deserves a good shout for Real Madrid, although I might think that this one is going to be controversial. But overall, I opted for Achraf Hakimi being the, I think, right back in the best right back in the world at the moment. Moving on to the left back position, and of course the counterpart in position is Robin Gosens from Atalanta as well, and I had a big, I think, dispute thinking of who I'm going to put. Is it Gosens? Is it Theo Hernandez? And although I think that Theo Hernandez might be the most explosive of the two, I think Robin Gosens is the more complete, because he adds to the defensive side of the game more, I say, than Theo Hernandez would probably add. We saw the difference, I think, between the two at certain games, and particularly, I think, in the head-to-head games between Atalanta and Milan across the season. Gosens still, doing his usual job, moroning up front and giving crosses, but also added more to his game, being more mobile, being more into the box, scoring more goals and giving more assists, of course, being involved more in Atalanta's attacking, all-going style of football this season. Moving on to the middle of the park, and obviously the first position, the CDM, or the centre midfielder really, for this lineup, I had a big choice to make in this one. I mean, yes, there were not a lot of centre midfielders who were doing the rounds, really being some of the best. I mean, you could say, Koke at Atletico Madrid, Kimmich at Bayern Munich, but I thought I would be too biased to choose him, so I ended up choosing N'Golo Kante. He is, I think, the barometer for Chelsea's midfield this season. Arguably, I think, the player who picked up the most form over the course of the season. He started a little bit wobbly with Frank Lampard, but certainly picked up a lot of steam, and in the really important and crucial moments for Chelsea, he was the man, literally, in the 2 games against Real Madrid in the Champions League, in the game against Atletico Madrid, in the games against Porto. He was the best player, and for the second half of the season, he was unstoppable, regaining a lot of what made him one of the best, if not the best, in his position in the world, running up the ground, covering up, participating in attack and helping his team start the attacks going forward. Alongside him in the midfield, I picked up Luka Modric, and this one, it was a bit of a nerve-wracking one. Also, I had a couple of players that I could have picked in the same slot. I could have picked, Ilkay Gundogan, is going to good shout. Nicolo Barella from Inter Milan would be a good shout as well. I could say, Jude Bellingham in Borussia Dortmund, outsider pick as well. But in the end, I ended up with Luka Modric. Although I could have picked, his midfield mate in Real Madrid, Toni Kroos. I could have picked as well Frankie de Jong from Barcelona, but I think Luka Modric has been the more consistent of the players that I mentioned. I mean, he is tremendous. At 36 years of age nearly, he's still giving all of his energy on the field, and that probably was a bad thing in the end for Real Madrid as a whole, but I think for him, it guarantees him a place in any, I think, best 11 for anyone at the very least, even as a bench if you want to extend the lineup. But in my opinion, he deserves to be on the best 11 this season. He's been so consistent alongside his teammates in the midfield, Kroos and Casemiro as well. But I ended up choosing Modric because I felt he's the more consistent, he played more, and also adds a little bit more in the defence and also in covering ground and making more effort than the other two make. Moving on, and Bruno Fernandes is the next choice here on the lineup. Of course, I didn't have any doubt choosing him. I mean, I was, over the course of the season, he's the only player, aside from another pick, obviously, that I would really, put undisputedly in any best 11 in the world. Deservedly, I would say, he's been, again, the best player in Manchester United over the course of the season. Since coming really in January of last season, he's been the best player at Man United. And although you could say that Kevin De Bruyne does the same situation and the same solution and provides the same sort of effort at Man City, I could also say that Man City has a bigger and a more bloated squad than Man United at the very moment. Of course, we don't know what they're going to do in the next season. In my opinion, Bruno Fernandes wildly deserving of his place in the best 11. Moving on to the attacking department, and this is where I didn't have any sort of thoughts almost about who I'm going to be putting in the attacking department. I just had a couple of players who I could have chosen. with those players that I picked, not even ahead of him. Let's start from the left-hand side, or should I say the playmaking position behind the two strikers that I'm going to put. And of course, who else? It is Lionel Messi. Another stellar season for him personally at Barcelona, albeit being the worst season overall for the Catalan side. I really thought that the team, this is the season where truly his teammates have let him down defensively in the midfield. Even Ter Stegen as well has been blamed for some of the bad performances that Barcelona have been put in this season. But I thought for him personally to get 30 goals, to get the Pichichi Awards, albeit it was, inconsequential, the 30 goals he scored in the end with Atletico Madrid winning the title. But I thought for him personally it was another great season. Still the best assister, still the best player in the league by quite a margin, I think. Maybe the most, not the most contributions, not the most important contributions yet, and that opinion could be controversial, but in my opinion it was another great season for Messi, deservedly I think, top goal scorer, and he's still giving all of his best really at Barcelona at nearly 34 years of age. Going to the striking partnership, I don't think that any of you would have any dispute over the two in front. Maybe you could put one over the other. Maybe I would put Benzema over Harry Kane, and that's a spoiler alert because I chose Harry Kane as my first striker in the worst season possible you could expect for Tottenham. Being in the Europa Conference League next season, he still manages to be the top scorer of the Premier League, still manages to be the best assister in the league, giving 13 assists, scoring 23 goals, giving 14 assists, and contributing in a total of 37 goals in the worst season of Tottenham Hotspur in quite a while, and probably the best season for him personally, carrying Tottenham on his back for most of the season. And probably if it wasn't for him, maybe Tottenham would be in a worse position where they are at the moment. I think he's definitely leaving the club. All the signs are pointing towards him leaving, and obviously it looks like that could be closer than possible, with all the hints, with all the clubs entering in a bidding war for him, and definitely the situation doesn't look promising for him to stay at Tottenham. He should leave, but over the course of this season he deserved his place in the best lineup. And then of course, undisputedly, without any shadow of a doubt, the top striker, the man up top in this lineup is Robert Lewandowski. Not just because he broke the Gerd Müller standing record for 40 goals in the Bundesliga with scoring 41, the way he did it as well, scoring it in the last minute of the last game of the season, is just so dramatic, and I think it's so euphoric for Robert Lewandowski to score like that, to surpass the record of one of the greats of the footballing world, not just the Bundesliga, in Gerd Müller, a man who won it all, done it all, and now Lewandowski not just joins him in the same club, but also tramples on his record and overtakes it. Obviously, his next objective for next season would be to do the same, maybe to do the same record, maybe to overtake his own record as well. But obviously, the guy is 33 years of age. He's still giving it its best. Physically, he's an absolute specimen. He still has probably 3-4 years at the very top level. Who knows? Maybe he would go until 39 or 40 like Zlatan did. He looks so fit at the moment, and definitely the top striker in the world at the moment. And maybe a big shout for the Ballon d'Or for that. Messi won it in 2012 without winning any title practically, just for being the top scorer in La Liga with 50 goals and scoring a ridiculous amount of goals. So why not Lewandowski could get the same treatment this year? Anyway, this was my starting 11 of the top leagues across Europe. Again, I apologize for not including League A players because I would be really doing injustice for most of them since I don't watch the league. But overall, those were my picks. You can debate those in the comment with me below. Like, share, of course, comment on the videos if you think I missed out any players. I'm sure I did. I'm sure I have some wrong choices in there. Of course, subscribe to the YouTube channel, enable notifications to help us reach the 1K before the Euros. Of course, much more content coming around that period. Obviously, the previews and the reviews and all the follow-up on the coverage of the Euros here on the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.